Hello and welcome back to Behind the Dreams. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Jack. How are you today, Jack?
Doing good, you know. It's nicer air here where I am than it is where you are, and it's
Today's
been pretty
better.
nice weather. Yeah, okay, that's
Today's
good at
better.
least.
It's only an 89 or something air
Oh, great.
quality.
That's way better than 200.
Yes, and it feels nicer. Like I thought at first I couldn't tell the difference, but after being in it yesterday and going out into it today, I can tell the difference now. I also was having, I guess, a little bit more out of breath yesterday, when I'm outside and stuff. But luckily, we didn't stay outside long. Just pretty much take the dogs out, come right back in type of stuff.
That's good.
Um, but yeah, it was like we had recorded, and then what? A few days after we recorded last, the Star Cruiser news broke. So
I think it was 2 days after.
I
Yeah, I
think
think I think it
so.
was at the most inconvenient possible time,
And
really.
we tried to do this last week. I think we just had to keep pushing it back. But we're here. We're gonna talk all of that. It's probably already in the title of the episode that you're watching or listening, so you probably already know. And I'm sure this is a big story that was hard to ignore anyway. But Galactic StarCruiser is shutting down. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But I guess first, I kind of just want to share something I forgot to talk about last time. But right now there's a bunch of people picketing outside of there, but I've been to the Disney Studios, Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. I also took a tour of like Universal Studios and WB Studios, which were really cool. Drove around and saw 20th Century Fox and um, Sony and CBS lot. Like we just drove around and saw those real quick. But it was really a great trip. My friend Rich, who I did the Disney College program with, was I guess was able to get an extra pass or whatever. I'm not sure if he had to buy two or he gets a guest when he buys the tour or whatever. And he asked me to go, and I went over there, and it was absolutely awesome. Uh, the Disney tour was about 2 hours. If you're a hardcore Disney fan, I would say it's a mixed bag. And the reason I would say that is because a lot of the stuff they're going to tell you, you already know. When you're talking about like history of Walt Disney and the company itself, you're already going to know that stuff. But the opportunity to be able to actually stand in Walt's office, right? And that's part of the tour. You get to stand in Walt's office. I took a selfie in there. I'll probably put it over the video while we're talking about it. But I got to see that, and you get to see just a tour of the whole studios. They were doing some sort of like costume test for something in one of the
Interesting.
studios when I was there. So that was interesting. Um, but I would say, and we got to shop in the shop. They have a shop on the lot, which is pretty much a Disney store. But in the back is an employee only, section. But as a member of the tour, you get to shop in there too. So I
Mhm.
did get a shirt that has like this old school Disney Studios logo on it that was exclusive in the shop. And I also got one of those like where you put like your ID on like your belt loop, and it had
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
that type of thing. It was one of those, and I have to wear an ID for work, so I switched it out to now it has the old school Walt Disney Studios logo on it, clipped to my belt, and then I can retract and
Yeah,
detract
I
my
I had one of those
badge.
for on my college campus. Yeah, I know
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they also had an Oswald one, but I went with the one that is, I guess, more rare in the sense that it's employee only.
Yeah.
I can probably, I mean, that one was employee only too, the Oswald one, but it just had Oswald. It didn't have, anything special to it. In fact, it also used the color red, and I feel like Oswald should have been blue
Yeah, no.
background anyway.
Oswald's not a red character.
No, that's
Mickey's a red
Mickey.
character.
That's
Yeah,
Mickey.
come
But
on,
I
Disney
would say it's a
Studios.
once in a lifetime type thing. You get to go to like, I was making a joke when I took a picture in front of like the actual building, right, where the seven dwarves are holding it up and everything, and I was like, with my arms crossed, and I'm like, this would be like the next CEO picture, you know? Like whenever they announce the CEO, they're like
It's always
standing
there,
there
yeah.
like this with the people behind them.
Always, yeah.
And so I got to be in that whole little courtyard, and that's where they put all the Disney legends, like their handprints and the names. So I took like a picture with the Marvel ones. They had like Stan Lee, I think Kevin Feige, and Robert Downey Jr. or something. And then I also just took pictures of every single Disney legend thing they had there. So there's 200 some, I think. I'm just going around like taking pictures of each thing.
Well, you gotta, right?
Yeah. And then there's this also like other little statue there. They had a partner statue that you can take a picture with like nice and easily without, having to cross a fence in Magic Kingdom that would get you in trouble. So that was really cool. I found out where the Marvel offices are. I didn't get to see them, obviously, but I just asked what building they're in. And they're in the building where the archives are, actually. So I walked into that building, but did not. And when I walked in, they actually had this huge Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 display thing that would go in a theater,
Oh,
like the
nice. Okay. Yep.
cardboard,
Yep.
thing. So they had that out. Ultimately, I think it was really cool. Really cool experience, but maybe just a little disappointed in the sense of we didn't get to see too much of the actual studio stuff. Like it was a lot more focused on the story of what we walked into some of the offices and stuff, obviously, but we didn't actually see like anybody really working. You know what I'm saying? Like we did, like I said, we saw the costume test. I think they may have been filming Ronish on the lot at the time too. Like I saw their like their tables set up for if they were going to eat outside, but compared to like the WB tour I did, which is focused really on just making the movies, making the TV shows,
Yep.
compared to the Disney tour, which is more focused on the history of the company, Walt Disney type of stuff. So if you're going for looking just for like movie stuff, if you're a big movie fan, you're going to get more out of the WB tour than
Yep.
you will out of the Disney tour. If you're a hardcore Disney fan, you're going to get a lot out of the Disney tour. Thankfully, I'm both, right? So I got to do both of those tours. Both of them were very rewarding to me, and it was just like a really great vacation. So I recommend to anybody that can go out there. You do have to be a D23 member to purchase tickets. Unlike the Sony tour, not Sony, WB tour and
Yeah.
Universal, you have to have a theme park pass. But
Right.
and that's literally just a tram ride. It's the Backlot Express tour from Hollywood Studios, but you're actually going through big filming locations in the Universal one.
Yeah.
Overall fun, but the Disney day went by so fast for me too, because it is probably about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And you're some of it, like I said, I already know, from being an employee previously or just from researching history stuff. So it depends, I guess, on how into it or knowledgeable you are on how much you'll get out of it. One thing they did give us too was free. I was kind of disappointed in the shop at first because I wanted something that said like the tour,
Right.
something that had like the tour on it. They didn't have anything like that, but they did have pins that they would give out during the tour at certain moments, and that made up for it because they're pins that are exclusive to the event, like exclusive to the tour. So one of them is like a Mousker and a Duckster, which is like Oscars that are shaped like Mickey and Donald. They have
Okay.
pins of those that they give you. And then they also give you a pin of the old school Disney Studios logo that I also have the shirt of. So that definitely paid off in that regard, because I was a little disappointed because we looked at the store first because we got there super early. They're like, you can look in the store first. And I was like, there's nothing here that like I can't just get on Shop Disney. Except for the employee stuff, but I was like, I want something that says like the studio tour. And thankfully I did get something relevant later. And then in Philadelphia, they have this Disney 100 exhibition until like August, I think. So if you're listening to this before then, you can still go up there and get tickets. It was like $45 a day per person with full access to the rest of the Franklin Institute. If you do an evening, it's $25 just for the Disney stuff. I did an all day pass, but it took us so long to get through this exhibit that we were exhausted. We went home. My wife is a slow reader. She's gonna, all right, I don't know if I'd say slow reader. She's somebody that reads every single plaque if we go to a museum. So it was taking us around 3 hours to get through this exhibit. And that's with her not reading every plaque. It got to a point where I really had to pee and there's no bathroom in the exhibit. So I had to speed her up a little bit, and she started, she does what I do, which is I took pictures of every plaque, and now I can revisit them at any time and I can read them at my own leisure. But really what I try to take in on those is not so much the plaques. I try to take in the actual artifacts, the actual things that are in front of me that I then can revisit on a picture later with the actual like, oh, what did they say about this thing that I was so enthralled by? But they had a lot of stuff. They had props for Marvel, props for Star Wars, props from Disney movies. They had some Oswald stuff, which was cool. I totally recommend it. I bought this book after the thing too, which is like an official, I don't know, exhibition guide, like the official guide. It's like $50. And I haven't opened it yet, but it's it's pretty thick. So I'm thinking it'll have some more information about a lot of that stuff. But definitely recommend going if anybody's interested. I'm not sure if it's going somewhere after August as well, but right now that's where it is, and it's really cool. There was some, let me see if there was something that really stood out to me on this tour, because there was some cool artifacts. Like they had one of the Matterhorn bobsleds. They had reproductions of art. If there was anything on like pencil and paper, it was a reproduction. They did not bring the actual thing there.
That makes sense, yeah.
But like Captain America's shield is legit. One of the BB-8 puppets, a Porg, stuff from Jungle Cruise they have on there, like the movie. They had one of the Winnie the Pooh stuffed animals from the Christopher Robin movie.
Did they bring back any of the People Mover cars from Disneyland, or?
No, I did not see any of that. That would have been cool. I would have jumped in one. But what was cool, they had these like little posters for each section when you go in. So one of the sections is like Innoventions, and one of the sections was The World Around Us. And there was a section called, what was the section called? It was something music. And I'm trying to, okay. The Magic of Sound and Music. And on it is the blue owl from the old sing-along VHS tapes.
No. I have those, actually. I have those VHS tapes.
It won't show it on here, but I'll put it up on the thing. But they sell each of these posters in the gift shop afterwards. We bought the music one. So I do have that one. I'm gonna put it up somewhere.
I remember the owl. Yep.
Yeah. A sing-along with Disney songs. Yeah, Disney sing-along.
I remember the Disneyland one was my favorite one.
Yes, Disneyland Fun. I have bought that thing on DVD because I used to have it on VHS, and then we bought it on DVD for when my nephew, who's now 14, when he was 1, I think we bought it so that way he could watch it, and he's now 14 years old. But yeah, that it was a really cool thing. They had some props from Lost because that's a show that was made by ABC, and
Oh,
that's one
right.
of my
Yeah.
favorite
Okay.
shows. So I took pictures with that. Um, that was near the end as well. But it's a good time. Like, they have a lot of stuff from the parks, from movies, from all that kind of stuff. They have like one of the Mr. Toad, the devils from Mr. Toad,
Oh, from
Wild Ride
the
from the
yeah.
Florida one. They have that in there. And you go to the archives on the Disney Studio tour as well. And I think I remember them saying some of that stuff was in Philly. So, some of this stuff was moved to Philly for that exhibition. And yeah, just some really, really cool stuff in there. If you're a Marvel fan, they have like a lot of the character helmets. They have Black Panther, like whole suit. Little kids were taking their picture in front of it. Uh, just a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I guess we'll move on to the news. I don't want to derail too long here, but they also had one of the the original like Mr. Lincoln head
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
from the old show, and they kind of show you what it took to program a uh a character back then and now what it takes. And the thing
Nice.
was so bulky back then.
Right.
But what was funny, and this is something that kind of got me upset, I guess. Okay, there was a lady there's a dopey that is sleeping on a bench, and
Mhm.
a mom is like, "Oh, which dwarf is this? This gotta be Sleepy because he's sleeping," and her daughter is like maybe 13, is like, "No, that's Dopey," and she's like, "Well, why is he sleeping then?" And I'm like, "I don't know, lady. Maybe because everyone sleeps. There were 7 beds in that movie. They all had to sleep." I didn't say that to her. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah.
But as soon as the daughter leaves, the mom and I guess the aunt is like, she has no idea what she's talking about. Why would he be sleeping if it's Dopey? Lady, it was Dopey. He's green, got the
I can think of someone else who's dopey. Uh,
green shirt, pink, purplish hat.
yeah.
That's Dopey.
Also, only one without a beard. Easiest one to
Yeah,
catch.
yeah, true, true. We get to I'm like, you're on this Disney exhibit, you don't even know who Dopey is? But we get to the where all the animatronic stuff is, and they're talking about, they're playing video of like Tiki Bird and Pirates
Right.
and
Right. Yeah.
Country Bear. And this lady, I don't know who she was talking to in relation to him. It was almost like she was talking to her son, but she didn't look that much older than him, so I'm not sure. But she's like, "Do you remember that?" Talking about Country Bears. He's like, "Oh yeah, I love Country Bears." She's like, "Too bad they got rid of it." And I was like, "What? Like that's still there?" And then the guy was like, "Oh man, that sucks." And then they started playing Tiki Birds, and she's like, do you know Tiki Birds?" He's like, "No, I don't." She's like, "Oh, that was good too. Too bad they got rid of it." And I was like, "I was just there. I saw both of these shows. What are you talking about?"
I mean, to a certain extent, like, yeah, they got rid of Country Bear Jamboree in Disneyland.
Maybe
Uh,
she's talking about that, but I don't know. We're in Philly, man. I'm just
yeah, I mean,
thinking Florida.
maybe they're from California originally, maybe. But even then, like, I guess the Tiki Room, it could be in relation to like, changing it to the under new management thing.
And she's
And
never
maybe,
been back.
yeah, she
She's
just
never
has
been
better.
back since then.
Yeah, she's like, I mean, to be fair, if that was what I saw before and then just never heard of it again, I'd be like, yeah, they really got rid of it. I'd just ignore the existence of it after that.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. I was about to speak up and be like, no, I literally just watched both of those shows. But yeah, maybe they're from California. But
Yeah,
California have Tiki Birds or no?
yeah, the Enchanted
They
Tiki
still
Room
do,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So she's just probably wrong.
yep, confidently wrong. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, everybody that was wrong in that place was so confidently wrong. I was like, I can't stand it. especially for the dopey one. I was going to interject, and I figured she'd be like, well, why is he sleeping? And I'd be like, lady, I used to work there. I met Dopey. I know who
I met
Dopey
him.
is.
He's my boy.
He was my boss. But yeah, we'll move on. Worthy event if you get to go. StarCruiser shutting down. We teased it at the top of the show. This kind of took me by surprise. This was announced less than 2 years from when they opened. It'll last for just a little bit more than 2 years by the time it closes in September. And it is really just, I never thought with how much money they put into this that they would actually shut it down this quickly. I thought maybe they'd try to retool it. There's rumors or reports from the Wrap that there was other options, that there was talks of turning it into an experience inspired by The Mandalorian. It was also suggested to give day guest tours of the hotel that would include access to the bar, dinner, and gift shop, stuff that I thought might happen before they decided to shut it down. But Bob Iger, apparently it was his decision. He foregoed those options and said, we're closing it. I thought maybe they might even turn it into another hotel. But it would actually probably be a problem because they'd have to add windows. That was one of the downsides of them never adding windows.
And also, there's only 100 rooms, right? So like, it's not like it has a ton of capacity. That's the other issue, right? So you'd have to add on more rooms for it to be a feasible hotel option. Otherwise, 100 rooms, and the rooms being pretty limited as is in terms of what you get with each of them, that it wouldn't be an efficient use of space. I think they're thinking. My guess is they're thinking we can get more from claiming it as a loss on a tax write-off than we'd get from doing anything else.
I mean, that's just everything. That's everything now. It's just,
yeah.
We're gonna remove all this stuff. I already went on a Disney Plus rant on the Marvel podcast last time. It just sucks. So what, you think they just knock it down, or is it stay up as like storage for something at one point? Like, maybe. What are we seeing here?
I hope they retool it, like, because it's a good space that they can reuse.
It's close. It's very close to Hollywood.
No, like you could make that into a like full on hotel. Like you could either like, knock this down and then reconstruct something. You could try and retool it, but it would present some issues because of, how it was made. But I think like it's definitely good space that they could use for a good hotel area. But otherwise, I do really like the idea of making it like sort of an extra thing to do, kind of like, almost like a mini golf or water park type thing. Like it's not the parks, but it's something else that you can do. And I think if you made it as like a dining option, that would have brought in some money. Like think of it like themed dining, like what they used to have at Polynesian, like the Luau, right? Or God, what they used to have at Fort Wilderness, the Mickey's Backyard Barbecue or whatever. Like make it into something themed like that. I think you'd get a lot of people making reservations for that. But time will tell. I'm sure. I bet at. Actually, no, I'm not going to bet that they have something at D23 saying what they're going to do with this, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Might be too soon.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have something like saying like, here's like, what if they like they might do what they did at the last thing, like blue sky, like, oh, we could do this thing, we could do that thing. Are we going to do those things? Time will tell.
Yeah, I think that would be quite interesting if it was the. You know what? That might work because D23 is going to be early September, and I think the last tours are at the end of September. So they might start looking ahead of, we've already sold everything, which I think they just finished selling it. Once they announced it was closed, things started selling faster.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, really. I know some people are like, why? And I'm like, well, for some people that may have had the money or maybe are kind of budgeting, right, for it, might think, okay, now this is a once in a lifetime experience because it is closing. So I have to go.
Right.
I would have loved to. If I had money, like, yeah, I would have before it closed. To me, it doesn't make much sense when I can literally plan a trip to Japan for cheaper than StarCruiser.
Yep.
Right? Like, my
Yeah.
wife was like, we should do that sometime. I'm like, I'd rather go to Japan. I want to knock out another Tokyo Disney. I can see Tokyo itself. Like, the flights alone, I think when I was budgeting out a potential trip to Japan, it was $6,000, which is what it pretty much is for this.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than sit in a concrete hotel with no windows
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
2 days. It's a 2-day trip over there too. Like,
Right.
that's all it was.
And also, if I'm going to Disney World, right, I want to go to the parks. Like that.
The
Like,
biggest mistake that this thing was, people can say, well, it's modeled after the sequels. They can say whatever they want.
that's not the issue.
The biggest mistake is how much it was priced for, on top of only having access to Hollywood studios.
And realistically, like only enough time to do the Star Wars
Yes.
attractions. That's the other thing. Like,
When they announced this thing, I was immediately against it. In the sense of, like, when they actually explained what it was, I see everybody saying, oh my God, this looks cool. And I'm like, whoa, does this mean I can't go to Magic Kingdom if I want to go to Magic Kingdom?
yeah.
How do I get back to my hotel? I can't. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why was this marketed as a cruise instead of... And that's what everybody's idea was. They're like, oh, no. You see, Jordan, it is a cruise. So you're acting like you're on a cruise. And I'm like, but I know I'm not in a cruise. I
Yeah.
know I'm in Florida. I want to go to the parks.
Yeah.
So what you end up doing is that this becomes an addition, meaning that this $6,000 you're spending is in addition to a week vacation that you're hitting the rest of the parks.
Yeah.
And it's doubling the cost of your trip or more at that point. And that's the main issue that this had, why it wasn't catching on. You either did it for one weekend and you're like, this weekend I'm just doing StarCruiser and I will have to plan another trip next year here, or you're adding it on to the rest of your vacation. And it just wasn't feasible. And again, with the price and the reviews themselves of the thing that were like, this is cool, but, and this is what I kept seeing from all these bloggers, this is cool, but I would not pay my own money to do this.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, then I can't justify it.
Also,
right?
like, if I was to do a Disney cruise, I would just do like a week-long actual cruise.
Where you
on
actually
one of
get to see the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you could do a Mediterranean cruise, like that's a week long for probably around the same price as StarCruiser was. Like,
Positive of it not being an actual cruise is that I wouldn't get boat sick, seasick.
fair enough. Yeah.
It's the
fair-
only
fair enough.
positive.
Yeah. Lots of negatives, like, being deprived of sunlight. That's one. That's a pretty big one. I saw, like, a very popular Star Wars account that may or may not have been blacklisted by Disney and Lucasfilm from a lot of things,
Ooh.
saying, "Oh, in case you don't know, Star Wars Theory."
Okay.
Yeah. And he was like, "I know how to fix this. The biggest mistake was making it themed after the sequels, not anything else." And then he's like, here's how you need to fix this. And then goes on to say, you need to make it into, people didn't like one LARP experience based off of Star Wars. Why don't you give them 3 options: Jedi, Bounty Hunter, or Sith? That would bring people in. It's like, no, it wouldn't.
Oh, I think I saw that video because I remember there's 3 options, and I'm like,
yeah, that's not the issue. that was never the issue.
It's part of the issue of the actual land, right? Is that, and I'm not saying like because sequels bad, because I do love the sequels. What I'm saying is, you boxed yourself in, right?
Yeah.
The Mandalorian became more popular than the sequels, and now you're like, crap. How do we capitalize on this? Well, they just have them as roaming characters right now.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm hoping they put some of those in the Star Tours. We heard that they're adding some more scenes in the Star Tours. hopefully they do something for that to get presence
Could-
in there, because it is a bummer with my issue with Galaxy's Edge and the hotel and all of that good stuff is focusing on the LARP, live action role playing. You're in the story. You're at some point it feels like I'm on the rails. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on a story on rails
Right.
where it is the same every time I go. And I mean, that's not a big deal because most rides are like that. But in the sense of there's nothing they can even do. Like when I look back at my pictures of Star Wars weekends, which I only made it to one in 2015 when I worked there. Why don't we have this? We have a whole land dedicated to Star Wars and we can't celebrate all 9 films without them worried about, well, you see, Jordan, this takes place in the sequel trilogy time, so we can't acknowledge those other characters. And I'm like, you know what, Disney? This takes place in the real world, and we can do whatever we want. That's not really Darth Vader, dude.
Here's the great thing about like Avengers Campus and California Adventure is that
They don't
didn't
care.
they didn't box themselves in. They're like multiverse. Like,
yeah, they're like, this takes
it.
place on a universe where none of the characters have died yet, and everything that has happened has kind of happened,
but also not really has happened.
Right,
And
right.
and it works perfectly. And like, are there probably a bunch of contradictions? Yeah, for sure.
But the person walking in the street doesn't care. They want to see Captain America. If you had boxed yourself in and you're like, well, actually, technically, this takes place post Endgame. So you see, Cap is now 90 years old. And he gave his shield. They have like a bench and they have the old guy.
Come meet Cap. He can hand you the shield.
Photo op. We're going to charge so much money for this. That's a good idea though, but you know, not being boxed into it, but you know, like that would be a variant costume here.
That would be really funny if they did it.
But you know, people want to see Captain America. They also want to see Sam Wilson Captain America. They don't care. They just want to see these cool costumes and people wearing them. And when like the line for Darth Maul when I was at Star Wars Weekends was insane. And he's part of like one of the least popular films, right? But he looks cool and people want to get their picture with Darth Maul. But we can't. And that is, it doesn't have to be all the time even. You can just bring back Star Wars Weekends in May and just have an event. We have the space. Hell, you could keep StarCruiser up and you can ship people over there, and that's where they can have like the like the actual convention stuff. Like I've seen Jonathan James Arnold Taylor, who voices Obi-Wan. He had a show when I was in studios. Warwick Davis did a show at the Beauty and Beast Theater where they just talked about stuff. You know, like bring that kind of stuff back. I hate when we're so focused on just storytelling in the sense of let's just tell a story, but what they're really doing is limiting. They're limiting you. And each ride now in each land for each, not just Disney, for Universal as well, is getting to the point where they're so limiting. They're like, we're building this whole new land. And a whole new land used to mean like 10 attractions. Whole new land now means 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they spend billions on it.
Right. I think one thing that you could do to make that work, what if like you just said you had Star Wars Weekend and you're just like, okay, Friday, we're pretending this is Batuu during the prequel trilogy. And then Saturday, okay, now this is Batuu during the original trilogy, and then Sunday, this is Batuu during the sequel trilogy. You can have all the character meet and greets. You don't have to break continuity, but you can just say, oh, look, it's during a different time period. And like, sure, you have Rise of the Resistance still, but come on, like, whatever. Like,
what? Yeah, I mean, at some point, the attraction should be able to be standalone in the sense of I can get on Rise of Resistance and know this is sequel trilogy time.
Mhm.
But when I get off and I see Darth Maul walking around, now I'm in the prequel era. It doesn't matter. Like there is
Literally, the amount of people who would get upset with that, uh, one, are probably not going to Disney World that often. Like,
right.
they're the people who would get legitimately mad about this are like people who get mad about every Star Wars thing on Twitter, while maintaining they're the biggest fan of it in the
I
world.
want to go to Bob Iger and I want to say this doesn't make any sense, Bob. Mickey Mouse is 2 feet tall in the cartoons, and he's 5 feet tall here. You're breaking my immersion. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Like,
Also,
it's too much.
also Mulan takes place in China, and Frozen takes place in Norway. So why are they in the same parade? Hmm?
Right. Well, you can actually
Riddle me
get into
this,
that.
Bob.
Like, you can look at Fantasyland and be like, why do we have a futuristic Tomorrowland and Fantasyland in the same park? This breaks my immersion. Like you can
Yeah,
get
it's
too much into the weeds with this stuff if you go down that path, and it just sucks that they made that decision so long ago. They made that decision before the movies were even made as
yeah,
well. Let's not forget that. Um, I love the idea of Batu being its own planet. I'm not asking for like what people were asking for, where they're getting Tatooine or
no,
stuff like
we
that.
don't
I
need that.
love
We don't need
Batu being its own canon planet. I love when it shows up in like books and comics and stuff. But it's just frustrating when it kind of hurts what they were doing before.
that. Right.
I mean, Star Wars Weekends was an absolute blast that now they don't even bother doing. And part of that probably is because they own the IP now. They had kind of started already restricting it. Because they were worried about it being too goofy. Like having Mickey dressed as Luke Skywalker was
No,
taking it
that's
not
cool.
seriously.
Sorry,
And
that's cool.
I'm like, you didn't think that was a bad problem when you didn't own the property, but
Also,
you do
that's just
now.
cool. Like I
Yeah.
remember the little toys at Disney World that they had were
Yes.
of the Star. My favorite one, they had Stitch as General Grievous. Coolest thing ever.
That makes sense with his arms.
Yeah,
That's really
no,
good.
that's exactly. You could switch out for the single arm or for the double arm. Like they had the two different sets of arms and
That's really
everything.
awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know that either way.
We'll
Sucks that
keep an
Star
eye on
Cruiser's
it.
closing,
We'll
but
keep an eye and see what
hopefully they
Star Cruiser does next, I
hopefully they do
guess.
something cool with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Not holding my breath with some of the
no,
way that they handle some of this stuff. Uh
yeah,
they did this great Groot test animatronic dancing with Star Lord. People can look that up. It's a video.
it
It's
looks
like
cool.
it's on
Yeah,
YouTube for like a minute 30 seconds that Disney put out.
it's pretty cool. The only thing is, his face just doesn't look quite right. It looks a little cursed,
A
just
little
a little
derpy.
bit.
I
Yeah,
think I think part of the problem is it doesn't look real. And what I mean by that is it is a full animatronic, right? Because it looks like a
yeah.
person in the suit
No, I'm
with a
pretty sure
really
it's.
big head that the head it's the mouth for me. I think it's not indented enough or something.
Yeah,
Something doesn't look quite right.
there's just something on the face that just isn't quite looking exactly right, but it's an impressive. It's still
Yeah,
impressive
yeah.
regardless. That's the main takeaway. It's impressive, but it does look a little strange.
I'm curious to see how far that can keep going as they do more of these things because some of that stuff is really great. Indiana Jones Den of Destiny. So this is a new thing open up at Hollywood Studios in the former indie gift shop, which I just learned that's closed, I guess.
Yeah, it's
I
been
thought
closed
that
for a
was
while. Yeah,
really
yeah.
it's near 50s prime time. The gift shop I always thought was funny because there's a book called Indiana Jones and the Philosopher's Stone in there. And I was just like,
Guessing they
oh
had
my
to take that out around 2010.
God. No, it was in there for quite a while. But it was I didn't even know they made that many Indiana Jones books. Kind of like how Star Wars has the expanded universe, I guess Indy does as well, but
Oh yeah,
they're not as
yes.
popular. But they do have a few books there. But inside now you'll find props, a photo op wall, and a bar.
Yeah. It's a pretty limited bar. There's two alcoholic cocktails, one based on Indiana Jones called the Weathered Fedora, and one based off of the new character. I can't remember the actress's name. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, her character, called the
Mm-hmm.
Adventurous Margarita. And then there's also a non-alcoholic one called L'Atlantique Green Tea. And it's made with pomegranate green tea, blood orange juice, lemon juice, and agave nectar, which doesn't sound too bad. But yeah, it's a pretty limited selection, but not too bad. They also have some merchandise on display, but man, the props look cool. I hope it's open for when I'm going to be there in August
I would think so.
because
The movie comes out June 30th. I would think this is going to be up till the summer. And if you look at launch bay, this might be up for the rest of time. I mean, at this point, it is what it
I
is,
need
right?
it to
Like,
I need it to be open. I need to see the Indiana Jones bar. Uh
it's
I know they
relatively
already have
low
Josh.
cost too. Like, they'll have a
Right.
bar in there, and then the rest of it is just. Hold on, let me let the dogs.
Yeah, I mean to have like a bar and then a bunch of props around, it's not too bad to have that out there. And I think the main thing that makes it super nice is it kind of brings you back to sort of the old Hollywood studios type vibe, right? Where it was about like making movies and seeing all these cool props and everything like that. And I kind of like that vibe. It's why I like the Backlot Express quick service restaurant there because they still have those props laying around, and why ABC Commissary is so cool with all of the props from TV shows. So I like that they have this kind of thing, and also they have some specialty items being added to Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar in Disney Springs, which of course is set to be done the day I arrive uh, in Disney World. So of course, right? But it looks pretty good. I'm excited. I'm excited for Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. Indiana Jones is like one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. Uh, and yeah, I really hope that this is still up because I would very much like to see it.
My main problem with the reviews for the newest indie is when they're rating them lower than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and then you read their review and are like, "This is better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull." And I'm like, "What? What?
Be consistent. Like I don't
What is going on?"
I'm not I'm not trusting any of the reviews for it because I know I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan and I'm gonna like it pretty much regardless. I still like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, even though there's definitely some things that need some work in it. It's still a fun Indiana Jones movie. I don't care what anyone says. It's
I
still fun.
liked it when I saw it in theaters. I haven't watched it since, but I remember liking it. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I was always kind of amazed how it got so much crap. I think it mostly got crap for having aliens and actually the
Yep.
refrigerator nuke scene. I feel like
Which
that's the only two reasons.
I think the fridge scene is kind of funny. Like
It's
I get
fun. It's
yeah.
not supposed to be real, guys.
Also, if it breaks your realism to see him survive from that, he went out of a plane on a raft and landed on a snowy mountain. But still, the impact from that would still very much hurt you a
I
lot,
mean, look at what
if
he's
not
doing
kill
in
you.
this one. He jumps out of a plane at 80 years old. There's a moment, Jack, where he is jumping from car to car at 80
Yeah,
years old
yeah,
and just making it in the nick of time. None of this is real, right? So
yeah. No,
it's just whatever.
Indiana Jones is an adventure movie. I like none of if you take any of this and there's like, oh, that breaks my realism. Sorry, was the Ark of the Covenant releasing biblical ghosts? Did that
Maybe if
not break
that's
your
how they
realism?
think, Jack, they should be in charge of Galaxy's Edge because that's already the people in charge over there.
Yeah, like oh my god, it
This breaks
does.
my immersion. Sorry.
Yeah, oh my
Um,
god.
let's move on from indie. I do think that it's cool that they'll have some props. I'm glad they're giving it something like Star Wars. Just kind of sucks the gift shop's gone. Like, where do you buy indie stuff now? Just
You
one
can
of the
still
other
buy it.
shops?
Like there's a cart
Mm,
near the
mm.
stunt show that they had him. So I one thing that they need to do, by the way, in honor of the new show, they need to fix the rope pole thing. It's been broken. They need to fix it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
They need it. It's iconic. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it now because it's goofy. And please bring it back. Please fix it. Restore it.
Muppets Mayhem is a the Jeff Yorks, the co-creator of the Muppets Mayhem on Disney Plus, has um said that he has pitched when he was creating the show for it to replace Aerosmith on the Rock and Roller Coaster. That's been the talk of the town. Rock and Roller Coaster was down for refurb for a bit and then came back as still Aerosmith, and people were kind of confused. Um, Look, I wanted to stay Aerosmith. I know there's controversy with Steven Tyler, and there's always going to be controversy with anybody in really show business at all. Like, what if we look up Jeff Yorks? Who knows, right? Like, um, there can always be problems with this type of stuff. I just like the music better in Rock and Roller Coaster than I'm a big Muppets guy. I like the Mayhem as well. So I think, I mean, it could probably work, but it'd be weird to be that far away from Muppets Courtyard. It just seems like it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to me. Um, any ideas that they pitch for replacing Aerosmith, I immediately think that's not good enough. It's got to be somebody with a really big, like, backlog of music that's really good. I think is my thought, because you don't want to get the same two songs every time.
Right. What if they kept it Aerosmith themed, but had the Muppets playing the members of Aerosmith?
If it's the Muppets Mayhem singing Aerosmith, I would be a lot more inclined to say that's better than just having them sing, you know,
I
can you
think that would
picture that?
I think that would be amazing, and because it would be incredibly meta. I feel like for people who know like, oh yeah, this used to be an Aerosmith ride, and now it kind of is, but the Muppets instead. I just think it would be funny like if they recreated that opening scene, but it was just the Muppet, like the Electric Mayhem band in there instead.
I'm picturing the Muppet that's like blue with the glasses and the long curly hair doing the Steven Tyler, like putting
Yeah,
his
the wait a minute. I
fingers on
love
his
that
forehead,
idea.
like, wait a minute.
Is it Dr. Teeth? Is that who it is, or
No, no, no.
no, no,
I
no,
think
wait.
Dr. T's the one that
Right, he no, I know who you're talking about. He also has like a fedora, right? Like
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
yeah.
look up the who it is. Hold on.
And like you just like at like just throughout it, you just see Animal like just like pacing back and forth and like crashing into stuff. And yeah, I think it could work. Uh Also, like, it wouldn't be the most difficult retheme to do. You just you just change out that opening scene, and you're good to go. And you don't even have to change it to say with Aerosmith. It's still kind of with Aerosmith. So
His name is Zoot.
that's incredible. See, that's proof enough that it needs
He's
to
just like,
happen.
wait a minute. I love that idea.
I think, yeah, see, like, it could work. Uh I know a lot of people have also been like, Queen would be cool. It would be kind of cool.
Queen would be cool too, but then there would be other people upset about that for
Yeah.
just Freddie Mercury, even though I don't know. It seems like actually some people, the people I think would have a problem with it, don't have a problem with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah,
Sometimes I think that's
after
odd, but
after Eurovision a few years ago, I saw someone saying, "What about Måneskin?" And I was like, I would love that. I love their music, but I know that the general public does not care enough about Italian rock
no.
band Måneskin
And that
to
guy,
do that.
the lead singer of that, apparently is cheating on his girlfriend. By the way, just had
Yeah,
that
that sounds
break.
about right. Yeah, that's
Sounds rock and roll, right? We can put
yeah,
that in
no,
there.
that sounds about right. I mean, like, there I feel like it probably could use an update, just because I feel like as the years go by, a lot less a lot fewer kids are like know anything about Aerosmith and like
That's just a
anything like that. So
that's a parent problem. They should be listening to this music.
I guess, yeah, but also I think it could use like I as long as it's not like pop, like as long as it stays rock,
It's got
right?
to
Like
be
that's the
rock
thing.
and roll, and there's
It
not
has to,
much
yeah,
rock and roll right now. So I would
right.
really don't know who you would
I I would
make
love
this
it like
after.
dream scenario. If I could have anyone do it, the Foo Fighters. I
Hmm.
would love to see the Foo Fighters on it. But the thing is, they're not as iconic to as many people as
I don't know if
Aerosmith.
their songs would fit on it either. Like I understand, like I like the Foo Fighters, but I
I'm
don't.
thinking of like songs that could work with it. I think Monkey Wrench could work with that potentially. I think Run, Run could work on it. Walk probably. White Limo actually would fit perfect. would fit perfectly with it, and it fits the intensity and the vibes of it. But yeah, I that would be like. But I'm also just a huge Foo Fighters fan, so I mean, like,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this. I think that's one reason why they haven't moved on it is there's not really. I think the bands that have the catalog of the music
mhm.
that fit the ride that
Yeah,
are
that's
also
that's the thing,
iconic. I think it's like three, there's got to be three things here. The music has to work with the ride.
right?
You have to have a deep catalog, I think. And then you also have to be iconic enough where people say, oh, I will ride that ride um, just because of the name on it, not because it's a roller coaster.
Right. I mean, I wonder if like the only thing is you would have to change the pre-show a lot, but you could make it sort of like a bunch of different bands do doing this.
Rip,
Like
ride, rocket.
yeah, sort of similar to that. Or like
Rip, ride, rock and roller coaster.
yeah, where you get like a different band's music every time. Because I'm sure they could I'm sure like there's plenty of songs that do fit. It's just that finding them
Mm-hmm.
all within
But that's
one
just
band.
Guardians at that point.
Yeah,
So you would
that's the other
theme
thing.
it to
Yeah.
Guardians, and then you have them in another park,
Yeah. Why
and
that?
people
Hey,
are
that
like,
then you just need them at Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom somehow.
"Yeah,
At a raccoon petting exhibit
when does
at
this take place, though?
yeah, no,
We have
it
to figure that
does it
out."
take place before or after the snap? That's very
Yeah,
important.
we have to
Like
figure that out. Is it the real Gamora? Um, that's pretty much all the news. But we have a
yeah,
fun post news game. We like doing these. This is our top five attractions that can use updates or rethemes. Some of mine are going to be pretty light on details because I'm not sure on how to fix the ride. But
you already wrote yours down. I
yes,
just have
I'm
mine
pointing
stored in
mine out.
memory. I see one that I already disagree with,
I
but
know,
okay.
test track.
Yeah.
So I'll start with that. Number one for me, test track. Go back to the OG test track. I don't like this new test track. Give me John Michael Higgins pre-show. Give me the bumpy bricks. I want it.
I I liked the old test track, but I still like the gimmick of designing the car. I think it's fun. I think I think it makes it fun for a lot more fun for kids, but I get it.
What
I
if we
get it.
let you design the car, but then the
Okay,
course
okay,
is all the same?
okay. Fair enough. Yeah, you know what? You know what? Fine. That I could see that working. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Uh, Number one for me, which you also have on here, uh, Journey into Imagination. It needs help. It like I went on it last time. Oh my god. Some of those animatronics are way too stiff. They the movement is so much lower than it should be. And like, come on, there's a whole part of the track that's no longer being used, which is the sad part, right? Like the ride track got cut down so
Did it?
significantly.
What's not being used right now?
Well, they've the track used to be a lot longer. That I can't remember exactly where it was that it used to go, but I watched a video on it that said the track length got reduced down because it used to be like 14 minutes long and now it's
Really?
10 minutes long. Yeah. So it's been reduced slightly. But it should still have Figment. bring back the Dreamfinder. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it could. I think it could be great because the attraction, it's fun, but it can be so much better.
Yeah, I have it on my list too. What I think is the biggest issue that plagues Disney, I'll say.
Yeah.
This plagues them all right? This is all Disney. Is they'll remove iconic stuff like Dreamfinder, Figment even at times.
Right.
And then they will go ahead and they will go ahead and make so much money off of that. What I mean is, they're going to go ahead and sell you Dreamfinder merch. They're
Right.
going to make a comic book about Dreamfinder and Figment. They're going to sell Figment popcorn buckets, and they're going to threaten to take them away from you every single time. Mr. Toad. They take Mr. Toad out of there, and guess what? Oh, here's our 30th anniversary pin of the Mr. Toad ride that you can no longer ride. And it's like, what are we doing? Oh, here's a shirt of Mr. Toad ride. While it's in Disneyland, they'll sell it at Disney World. And I'll be like, remember this ride you guys loved? Well, now it's retro, and you can buy this retro thing that reminds you of it,
That
but you can't
reminds you of
actually
what used to
experience
be
it.
there.
And the
Yeah.
reason it's iconic is because people identified with it. And then they're like, no. They're like, no, you can't anymore. We're gonna get rid of it. And it's so frustrating. That this is what they do. They take away your stuff and then they sell it back to you, your memories of it, and they're just like, here you go, love it. Pay me money off the thing I took away from you. And that's so frustrating.
Yes.
So I have it the same way. I would want it to be that I would want it to be the original ride as close as it can is kind of my thought there. It doesn't have to be the same, it's just an updated version of it, bringing in Dreamfinder, all this great stuff. That's what I want.
Yeah, I agree. Like it can be so much better than what it is. And it already is running at like such low capacity most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I've waited the longest I've waited for it in my entire time of my lifetime going to the parks, because I've only been there when it's been in its new state, right? So I've never seen any other version of it,
Right.
but I've never waited longer than like 10 minutes for it. I
Mm.
can't think of a single time I've waited longer than 10 minutes. And just like think about how much better it could be if more of it was being used. And that's all I'm saying, right? Like, you know, but my second one, and this one, might be a little controversial when you hear it at first, but I think it could be really interesting if we did this. And that would be why did I the Grand Fiesta Tour. And now I know this is one of your favorites. And my reason for saying it needs a refurbishment is that one thing that I think was a big strength of the attraction in a recent change was adding the animatronics of Donald. I'm forgetting
You
all.
think that's a mistake?
No. I think that's great.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's great.
I heard
I
that wrong. I was
no,
like, I think that's the best part that they've done.
that's one of the best things they did with it, and I would like to see more of that. And instead of telling the story entirely through screens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Telling it with
Mm-hmm.
animatronics more, right? Like I think that's like one of the strengths that Disney has over like Universal on their rides, right? Universal
Yeah.
relies a lot on screens to tell their stories, and for better or for worse, right? But I think that they could improve that ride, the Grand Fiesta Tour, just by adding a few more animatronic based scenes. I think that could really revitalize that attraction and bring some more people into it.
Um, I think that would be fine as long as it stays three Caballeros. I will take it.
No, it's staying with them. They're still there. Don't worry, they're still there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fine then. I would probably be okay with that. It's just a the only reason they added the animatronics was because they were left over from a show in Tokyo, a ride in
Right? Yeah,
Tokyo.
I believe that. I believe that's right. Yeah.
But it was also originally in Magic Kingdom. It used to be where Filler Magic was, and then they
Right.
moved it to another place.
America's no, it wasn't America's Saints. The Mickey Mouse musical review. Is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep.
That's it. Yep. Okay.
Um, but yeah, if they could go ahead and make more of those, because you're right, the screen parts aren't that great. The reason I like it is because it's the three Caballeros, and I
Yeah.
think that they need um, more representation. My uh third one, because I had Test Track and I agreed with Journey into Imagination,
Mhm.
is the Tomorrowland Speedway. I think it needs to go.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
if it's just a retheme, there's been rumors of Wreck-It Ralph car ride based off Penelope, Vanellope's race. I don't know if that fits Tomorrowland. I don't know what I would do with it. If it was up to me, it'd be bulldozed. Something else would come there. But if we're talking about just needing updates, I think it'd be cool if they could innovate, make it electric based.
That
I don't,
yes, yes, yes.
so you're not smelling the car fumes
Oh
all the
my God.
time.
That
I mean,
that's the worst part of that attraction by far. Like walking in and just smelling gas. Like
yeah,
it's awful. It's awful.
we used to drive to Disney when I was a kid. Um, so I never really got to ride this ride that much because if I did ask as a kid, my parents were like, "We just drove 18 hours to get here. We're not driving a fake car around here. I'm sorry." All
Yeah.
right. Um, and I agree with them. I do. I'm like, I sat in a car the whole time. This is not that thrilling, right? Especially you drive a little bit and then you get backed up to get off, and you're like,
Oh
okay,
my
that was a
yeah, that
waste of time.
yep.
Um, so retheme it, maybe make it electric based. Actually, do some Tomorrowland stuff. There's nothing futuristic about these gas cars. So innovate.
Yeah, I agree. And also the wait time is so long for the experience you get.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I like the one in Disneyland. I think like they've made
Utopia.
yeah, I think they've done some theming around it to make it feel a little bit more within that futuristic theme. Still use the gas cars, and I think like there's definitely a curve of enjoyment on this, right? When you're really young and you can't drive an actual car, this is the
Mm-hmm.
best thing ever, right? Like I remember as soon as I was tall enough to drive one myself, I was like, this is the most incredible thing in the world. This is the most freeing thing. And then after I turned 16, I was like, I don't care for this anymore. I can drive an actual car. So I I I see that for sure. One that I would say could this would be my third, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I'm on third. Uh oh my God. Oh yeah. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin.
Mm.
See, like it's fun. It's fun, right? But I feel like it is so finicky to hit the targets sometimes. And like the laser pointer is so difficult to see in some points. And we've seen like Disney make far better adaptations of these kinds of rides in the past few years. I mean, like Toy Story Mania blows this thing out of the water, right? Like so. And the other thing is the decor is so 90s, like very much so, right? Like you can tell like this was for a different, this was made in the 90s, right? Like you can tell that it's a little outdated with it. And I think they could do some stuff to make it even more engaging and fun. And I think, you know, changing it up a little bit. I wonder, like in an alternate universe, if Lightyear had done amazing at the box office, if it got like if it would have gotten like a retheme to that, that could have been super cool, right? Making it more in line with that. But because of how it performed, it probably never will, and we'll never know that if that happened. But I think that could be kind of cool, like just updating it and making it a little bit better. Because I think a big complaint of all of Tomorrowland is that it's a pretty outdated for being a land of tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? So I think you know we could make something better.
It's more
In
like a retro futurism at this
Yeah,
point.
no, no, that's definitely the right word for it.
Sticking with space theme, I'm gonna get rid of Mission Space. I'm completely
Yeah,
knocking
let's
this
go.
thing down. You can have something space related. I think it's kind of lame as it is. It doesn't make me feel good. Um, maybe like some sort of, I think Epcot needs more roller coasters. If you could do a roller coaster where you're in space, I guess like Guardians, but I don't mean
I
like
was gonna
that. You know what I'm
say.
saying? Like just something, I don't know, fun that you get off of and you're like, that was awesome. Not I'm gonna puke, like you do when you get off of Mission Space. And I don't know, it's not a good ride.
Yeah, the thing is, orange team is like too extreme, I feel like, and green team is not. Is
Green teams, you're like, I'm just staring at a screen here.
yeah, and like also the graphics on it, if they weren't tearing it down, the graphics need to be updated on that on the simulation because man, has technology advanced, and they could probably create some better renderings than what they have on there for sure. But uh yeah, it's kind of a tale of two extremes, and neither are all that good, I think. But yeah, a roller coaster would be fantastic, I think, for it. Uh my next one is going to Animal Kingdom. And I thought about one thing that I really would like to see Dinosaur go to Indiana Jones, but I thought out of respect for your favoritism
Thank you.
towards Dino Land, I decided to stay away from it for this. But I think Finding Nemo the musical, I enjoy
That
it.
was one of my options that I did not write down.
I do enjoy it, right? But the thing is, I think just man, it's just a little I would like to see something else there, right? And what I would really like to see, I would love to see a Tarzan show there because Tarzan's one of my favorite Disney movies, and I think it would be great to get some more Tarzan representation at Disney World. So that's what I'm going to say for my number 4. I think for sure that one should be fixed.
For my last one here, I have the empty lot where Primeval Whirl used to be.
Yeah,
Again, I'm
yeah.
going to go like a thrilling roller coaster based around dinosaurs like Primeval Whirl was, but more safe. Like the whole reason that ride had to close down was because I think the company that they had made the tracks got investigated or something, so they ended up having to knock it down. Um I if it's going to be in Dino Land, I want something fun. I didn't want to say like a ride like Dinosaur because we already have that. So I was thinking roller coaster. We have a spinner in Triceratops Spin, so you have something for the kids. You have something for middle age, I think, for Dinosaur, and then you can have something that I would say at the level of Guardians. I don't know whatever height restriction that is, but something like that for Dinosaur, and um, it could probably be an inside coaster just because it's hot. Animal Kingdom is very hot, so probably an inside coaster or something like that with dinosaurs. Um, I don't know. I just think there's something more that can be done with dinosaurs than just the dinosaur ride, and that's my thinking. It's just sitting there empty right now. Let's fill it up.
Yeah, that's definitely that's fair. My last one, I went between two different things. At first, I was like, man, I really wish Captain EO was back. But then I thought about the implications of that. And there's enough controversy swirling around there that maybe it's not the best idea to bring it back, even though I love the experience. I actually my dad got me one of the original posters from when it first opened, that he found someone selling on Craigslist and gave it to me for my birthday. So I have that framed. I would love that. But my last one is, and it was after I saw something that like a video of it, and it's tough to be a bug. It is so poorly maintained right now that at this point, I get like it doesn't draw people in anymore. People like a lot of people don't even know where the line is for it's tough to be a bug, to be completely honest. And I feel like you could do something better with the theater in there, right? Like bring something new to it. I definitely think that there's some room to bring in a new show that could be just as exciting, uh, without needing like without needing to do too much to change it up, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a theater. You can change it up pretty easily, I feel like. So that's my last one. I feel like the icon of Animal Kingdom needs something better in its trunk. It's got to have something a little bit more well maintained. And plus, it's tough to be a bug is terrifying for a lot of people. Uh, so yeah, I remember going on it and being terrified when I felt like the bugs crawling in my seat. Trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister was not a fan.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's our 5 attractions that can use updates or rethemes. Um, if you want to give us a follow, all of our socials are in the links below in the video description and in your show notes if you're on the podcast. Thank you all for watching or listening. We will catch you next time when we talk whatever big news is going on in the world of Disney. Hopefully, we get some good stuff over the summer. But thank you all. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.